From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.
I always have to smile a bit when I read that title about mastering multi-cloud, because I feel thrown back into 2017, where every talk in every cloud conference was about multi-cloud. And we've been around since then. And back then it was mostly talking about multi-cloud, not so much implementing multi-cloud. It felt a bit like an idealistic approach. People loved the idea, but when it came to the implementation, they were oftentimes overwhelmed by the complexity of even integrating one cloud provider. And nowadays, also a bit since the US elections last year, the topic has become much more much more important, but also much more hands-on in terms of implementation. So we look forward to share our experiences from integrating IONOS, STACKIT, and OVH, and I hope you will be able to take something away from this talk. So when I say we, I'm Christina, I'm co-founder of meshcloud, and with me is Florian.
Yep, I'm Florian, I'm Cloud Solutions Engineer at meshcloud. That means I'm integrating different platforms in our product. We built an internal developer platform. Don't roast me too hard today. That's my first talk. That would be nice. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the first question, of course, is why so many clouds? Why do I even need so many clouds? So, disclaimer, we do have a product that okay, there should be something else, but it's, it's fine. That provides a unified control plane across different clouds. And we've been working with multi-cloud since the very beginning. So the talk today is not about the product, it's about our own experiences, technically, from integrating the new providers. So you can do it by yourself, no need to use the product for that. But if we look back at the history a bit, we started in 2017 with a lot of private cloud integration. So we were working with OpenStack, with Cloud Foundry, with OpenShift, because people were really concerned about their data. They were really concerned about using the hyperscalers. So this was the clouds that a lot of large organizations started working with. A couple of years later, so 18, 19, the hyperscalers were more accepted. The contractual situation was kind of clarified. So a lot of organizations moved into the public clouds. And we, of course, also integrated these public clouds to help manage everything under one hood. Since like 1 or 2 years, we've actually had an explosion of additional cloud providers and other platforms that our customers asked for. And I think there are 3 drivers for that strong multi-cloud approach. The one I already mentioned, it was the Trump election last year. The second one is also the public sector that is strongly moving into the cloud. And for them, it was clear from the beginning that they will also use sovereign cloud providers in order to diversify their technological portfolio. And I think the third driver that we see is that there is a strong hype for platform engineering, and organizations do more and more multi-platform approaches. So even if they have one provider, they might have an IIS platform, but also a Kubernetes platform on top of that. So that's why you also see things like an SAP BTP, or maybe the Chinese cloud providers, Tencent, AWS, China, because they just add everything as a platform to their internal platform to be able to control and manage that centrally. So maybe a question into the room. Who of you is using one of the sovereign providers already? I see a lot of hands. That's great.
Cool. In
production? Not too many go down. Also good. Great. So let's see at how we did this and how we tackled that. And to start with a quick basic intro, you probably know that guy, that's Gregor. He has written a book, Platform Strategy, which is also a great recommendation. And we like to take that metaphor from the book, which says, well, a platform is actually basically the undifferentiated part of a product. So he compares it to the automotive industry, where you have this platform concept, where you have, well, the bottom part, the undifferentiated part, which takes a lot of standardization, which has a very high investment. And on top of that, you can actually put a lot of different hats. And the different hats, they help you to diversify your portfolio and to do a lot of different things on a common basis with overall not too much of an investment. Well, the question is, of course, how do we translate that into the cloud? And where is this break between the platform and the hat? And for the break between the cloud provider and you as an organization using the cloud, that's quite easy because we have all of those shared responsibility models. But if you build a platform internally, that's a question that you have to answer. Where do I as a platform team stop and where do my application teams start? And yeah, a big question is, where do we build up this abstraction? Now, when we talk about multi-cloud integration, a lot of organizations had this idea of, I have my cloud workload A running in cloud A, and then there's that magic button that I press, and then it automatically is transferred into cloud B. That's most of the time not the reality. And that's also a bit tricky, because if you want to do that, you have to find like the smallest common denominator of all the clouds, and that restricts you a lot in what you can do. So the idea from us when we talk about sovereignty is that basically we want to provide a technological freedom. We want to provide the freedom to operate. And if we think back on the cars, if you have 6 cars, you probably don't want to have 6 times the same car in your garage. You might want to have a car for the summer, a cabrio. You might want to have a car for the city, and an SUV for the mountains. So actually, a lot of organizations, they use the different clouds for the different use cases that they address. And these can be technologically different, but also in terms of regulation, right? Some financial services institutions, they might not be able to put every workload into a hyperscaler cloud. So for them, it can be very relevant to add a cloud to the portfolio that is more of a sovereign cloud here. That still doesn't answer the question, where do we do the abstraction? So we have built up a model that we call the Cloud Foundation Maturity Model. And this actually brings all the capabilities that you need when you build an internal platform into the structure of 4 pillars. So we have the organizational pillar, we have an IAM pillar, we have a compliance pillar, and a cost management pillar. And we write up all the capabilities that you need for an internal platform. This model is cloud agnostic, so it basically works for every cloud and every platform that you would like to integrate into your own platform. You can reach it in cloudfoundation.org. This is just an extract of it, so there's more than 70 capabilities overall. These are the red ones, so there's a red one because they're the most essential ones. And as an example, the Cloud Tenant Database is like a very basic thing that you should have when you do multi-cloud, to have an overview of which application is running in which cloud environment. So if something bad happens, you know who's responsible. Is it really that bad if it's down, or if it, if something happened there, if the costs explode. And with that, you can actually have a good overview. Now, for the simplicity of this talk, we will kind of combine the compliance and cost management pillars into a governance and control pillar to have that balance of the enablement on the one side and the control and the governance on the other side. And I hand over to Flo, who will tell us how he did that for the clouds we integrated.
Yes. So I looked into the hyperscalers and into the sovereign clouds and took out what I think is important or is also be able to do. And when we look into the hyperscalers, we have a root tenant, and it feels like you can really build your global enterprise in it across the whole world. So it feels like that you can have multiple companies in one account. So it feels very big. We have organizational units. So why you need them? So maybe you have landing zones. You want to build a Kubernetes landing zone where only containers run, and then you create a management group for that. You have different regions across the whole world. You have tagging for sure, maybe for a cost center or something else. And you have the legal entity, so that means you fit the legal requirements of your country. And when you look into the sovereign clouds, I don't see that deep hierarchy. So it feels for me not like, okay, I will run my global company in it. Maybe I'm wrong, and it depends on which sovereign cloud you chose, but I don't see it at all. But what I'm seeing, we have the tenant provisioning on both sides. So we have SDKs, we have API endpoints, we have automation. We can use what we still have and put it into the sovereign cloud, the whole concept of it. We have also regions. It depends which sovereign cloud you chose. Again, you can do the tagging stuff and prod whatever, and you have also the legal entity. So when we look into the EM and access, and this is a good point for me, because I want to ask who is using Entra ID or something else that's an intent. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Don't lie.
Something else? Some other identity provider from the US? Yeah, okay. Who does it by their own completely? Okay. And who is on the German one? Not German or Europe one? Okay, so okay, I expect a little bit differently, but good, cool. Exactly. So many people, or some people, are using Entra ID or Okta or something like that. Some US services for accessing for SSO, whatever. We have at the hyperscalers a raw model, so we can use Airbag. I don't explain that. I guess everyone is using it for here in this room. We have service identities. So we can creating service principles for automation, but what I like more to do is workload identity federation, because then we have a one-to-one direction in between who is using exactly which service or which pipeline wants to access the cloud. So I guess this is much better because you have that one-on-one relationship in between. And yeah, I looked into, I didn't test, I have a demo. I didn't test it with a European identity provider, but I will do it with Entra ID. And I saw there are some alternatives, and maybe you can also do it by your own. You have also a role model, so you can create contributor roles, you can create user or reader roles, so you could also show the concept of that. Service identities, as I said, I would wish there will be also more workload identity federation. Maybe that comes in the future, or I oversaw it maybe, but I didn't saw that. I saw also some providers that still use username and password, and I guess we are over that point. So, okay, and also global administration to the whole. Yeah. Okay, to the governance part. Policies and guardrails. I really like policies and guardrails because they protect your organization that something getting really wrong. So you have audit logs, very important from day one, because you want to know who is speaking to your resources over the API. You have cost and budget management, so you can see who alive, who is spent how much in the cloud. You have best practices, and this is also a good point. So when you are using the hyperscalers, you have AWS ultras that love the product, and they write some how-tos and guides, and you have that for every cloud provider. So you find, when you have a use case, you will find someone who did it before you, and this is very cool. And you have also the compliance. So normally, they have the ISO standards, they can do GDPR stuff. The bigger problem is the US Cloud Act, and this is the reason that we are here, I guess, in this talk. And when you look into the sovereign clouds, maybe I didn't saw it in that deep, that you have policies, but you can also solve that on another level. For example, when you have a mask or a self-service, you exclude, for example, specific regions. One of these cloud providers have also some regions in the US, and you can choose them. So that means that you have to put, it's on you that you disable it with the self-service that you build. And we have also audit logs. We have also cost management. It's not that live, and but it's quite good. We have API endpoints for that, that we can get all the costs out of the sovereign cloud, and also give the teams the opportunity that they see what they spend. And for the best practices, so for example, I found only one how I use Entra ID with one of the sovereign clouds, and I would wish, okay, that there are also some STACKIT ultras that write some guides how things work. And we have strong compliance, so I guess GDPR, we are European citizen, we invent GDPR, or? So I guess this is fine. And that means we saw different things that we can use as we ever did at the hyperscalers. That means we can creating accounts and give the accounts to the specific teams and tag the stuff, whatever, dev and prod accounts. We have EM roles, and it's good enough for a start that we have different stakeholders on different projects with different roles. And we have the governance and control stuff. We can use the cost management for them. And we also have the audit logs, so for sure it's not there, but yeah. So it's not part of the automation. That means we have unified concept across all clouds. So that means we can do the tenant creation with automation. In my case, I can completely use OpenTofu. What is very cool, all of them have providers. We have the role model. I can use it, and nowadays I also can use it completely with Terraform, with OpenTofu, sorry. And we have the EM and access, so that means I can also use my IDP. So the only thing that I would wish, as I said, I had a guide of doing it, because sometimes I also want only to be stupid and read something and then it works. I guess everyone knows that. Okay, and we have the cost reporting. And for the cost reporting, I use different things. So as Christina said, or maybe also I said, we are a company that built our internal developer platform. That means we have a tenant database. We use it that we, on one side, build safe service that people can create their use cases, and also they can see the cost that they spend in the cloud. And you see that I'm using also TypeScript. That means I have a script that speaks to the sovereign cloud, getting all the costs, and then it pushes back or uses our API to show it in a specific format that the teams can see how it works. I use TypeScript, I use the APIs, and it's a GitHub workflow that runs once a day. So you will see it. Okay, then we go to the demo part. So what I can show. So I will show how the creation looks like. That means it's a little bit Terraform code. It looks very similar to each cloud provider. And we log in on, and I will show what's a little bit weird on the panel, but it's okay. After that, I will show how it worked in STACKIT and how it changed and how they also improved their stuff, what's very cool. And after that, we take a short look into the cost management. Okay, now I hope that the demo is working. Which one? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yes. So, it's, OVH. Perfect. So, normally we have something similar as a safe service that people can do it over a panel, but it's normally Terraform code. And you see that we're creating two users. So it's Christina with a user role and me with an admin role, and I can create this project. So I have still created it because it takes some time. And you see that we take a look which role the users have in the template, and then we creating the project. And on the project, we're creating all the roles. And we have the admin role, everything is allowed. And we have the more important role, not more important, but it's more the restricted role of the user that I can't delete some things. And that's it overall. And after that, it's created. We can take a look how that looks in the panel. And this is a little bit wild. So first of all, I'm logged in as my SSO user, but it thinks my name is Johannes. This is my CTO. Okay, fine. So I don't see some things here because of the restrictions. This is also fine. And I see all the projects I'm able to use. So not all of them, only where I have policies or the ABAC roles of it. And when we look in the how that looks on the panel, the ABAC roles and so on. And this is very funny. This is now the admin account. So, and when you take a look, it looks like a little bit, I guess it's very small. It's better, or? Yeah.
It's big enough.
Cool. So I have access, not that one. Here, that one. I have access to everything. So, and it looks like it's not really compared what you set it up in your Terraform code, yeah, it's normal. You have one source of truth and it works. I tested it, but I would wish this would be more show the reality. So I don't want to blame them. So it's not about that, but I want to show that. I guess I can also find something similar at STACKIT, but I saw also many STACKIT people here and a little bit scared. And this is, yeah, so I guess there's also something, but you can use it, so it's completely fine. Okay, then I go to the next one. Not that one, yeah, maybe, yeah. Okay, so we have exactly, yes, cool. So as I start doing the same thing at STACKIT, you also see I grab the users and the roles, and I saw at the beginning that there was missing Terraform resource, but I still saw, okay, there is an API endpoint far. I guess they also have a API first culture, what is awesome, and I could use it with a null resource in Terraform. I know that someone is dying from inside to see when I'm executing bash inside of Terraform, for sure, but I still know, okay, it was a workaround, so it was okay. And after some months, I saw that it was merged, and then I reduced my code. So that means when don't forget my comments. Oh, that was right. Yes. Whew. No, I closed it. Perfect. Okay. Give me a second. So, yeah, I got it. Yes. Yes. You see that. Oh, this is also. I get a little bit more down. Yes. That is 9. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So on the left side, you see the code that I don't use anymore because they have now a provider for that or a resource for that. And this is very good because I also ship responsibility to them, not only to me that I'm responsible to my weird bash coding inside of Terraform. So what I want to say about that, so it's very good that you see progress in people who are using it. And I guess we should use it also a little bit more that they also improve their things. So it's also aligned on us. And last but not least is the cost management thing. And so the scripts looks very similar to each other. That means I have the part where I get all the projects. So if anyone is wondering why I have some emojis here, I use also a coding agent for that. And I get all the costs from the sovereign clouds, and for a month, also for the previous month, because it could be happen that costs comes a little bit later. And overall, I take it in a specific format and push it somewhere else. In our case, it's in our product. That means this is that part here. So I have a specific format for all the projects, who is using it, that I can reflect to the teams, yeah, what they spend in the cloud. And I have to be careful. So, and the IONOS script looks very similar. So it's a little bit different because they have another API for sure. But overall, I get all the products, all of the usage of the product, and after that, I have the same part here of sending it to our product. It's, as I said, our GitHub workflow. That's very simple. Where we run it on our own runners. So we don't use the GitHub runners. We have our own ones in our own Kubernetes clusters, and that's it. This runs once a day, so it's enough. So and it's not more possible. And then we send it to our product. I guess I didn't open the tab for our product, so but we can take a look how it looks. I forgot that.
It's okay, we don't have that much time.
Okay, then
you can see it later.
I can show it afterwards. Come to me, and I can.
Basically, you see the multi-cloud overview of the different costs from the different providers in one screen.
Then what were the challenges? So first of all, yeah, you need an identity provider. Maybe you are still on Android or something else, and you have to think to integrate it before. And this is very important that you can look into all the clouds. Yeah, so I also said it. It would be nice when we someday have also OVH Ultras and STACKIT Ultras, that we have more guides for everything and also documentation. I found everything in the documentation, but I had also the case that I have to write a support some cloud provider to get the answer of it, and it could also be public. And yeah, I make a mistake, so I grabbed only the projects. And when the project was deleted, I didn't have an ID anymore, and it would be better when I used the container ID where the projects are living, and greets out to Yangi, a colleague of mine, who fixing and founding it. And then I give you again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, what we saw right now is basically that foundational platform, right? What are the very first basics that you do when you integrate those cloud providers to your organization? So provisioning accounts, getting the costs, setting some basic policies, and the role model. What comes next is basically what you can build on top of that. And that's, of course, also something that we're working on. And what does that look like, that developer platform? So yeah, we've heard a lot about golden paths in the last couple of days. So one example is basically providing a setup that an application team can start working with on their Kubernetes applications. So usually we start with a Git repository, 2 namespaces, one for dev, one for prod. And then we have a connector between the namespace and the GitHub Actions pipelines to relieve them from having to set up this in the beginning of building their application. And of course, this is something that we can also do with a sovereign cloud. So instead of having the AKS there, we can use the STACKIT Kubernetes service or the OVH Kubernetes service. And that's actually something that also brings us closer to that magic button, because I can yeah, set up the same environments across the different clouds and really choose where do I want to operate this application. So this is what is coming from now on. Maybe we'll talk about it next year. And yeah, with that, we are already reaching the end of our talk. So we encourage everybody to use the sovereign clouds to preserve your freedom to operate. We think it's really important to find use cases that we can operate there, to have the usage, to give feedback, and to really start working with that and have a portfolio of different cloud providers to not be too dependent on a single one. Then, of course, not all clouds are the same, and that's okay. However, your platform capabilities should be unified in order to make it easy for your developers to use the different clouds instead of having different silos in your organizations with different processes for each cloud provider. And then maybe do not expect the same maturity in terms of governance capabilities, but there's always a way that you can actually achieve your goals. So yeah, just try it out. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be here for a couple of hours more, as probably all of you. And with that, I would say thank you, and we can open the Q&A.
We start with a question from a non-employee of StackIT about the second best sovereign cloud that you see right after, of course, first place StackIT. Again, not an employee of StackIT.
You don't have to answer that.
I can answer. To be honest, I like that we have in Germany also a sovereign cloud. But I hope really that it feels in the future a little bit more like OVH. So because I like that, and they are very international, and yeah. But I appreciate that we have that, so for sure. And I guess that we can also reach that, and this is also what I mean. So we have to use the things and make it better together. So and improve it. So I guess this is very important.
Thank you. So, can you define hyperscaler versus sovereign? I don't understand why you don't consider, for example, OVH a sovereign hyperscaler.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in terms of scale, there's still a bit of a difference when we look at OVH and when we look at the hyperscalers. So in our wording, basically the hyperscalers are AWS, Azure, and GCP, and then the European ones we consider the sovereign cloud providers. I know there's a lot of debate about what sovereign really means and what it doesn't, but I guess that's how we term that.
So it was here also a little bit about how you can easily implement other platforms that you can use it, because we also did it with SAP BTP in the same way, and it's not a cloud provider or something like that.
Thank you. Next one from Jan Otto. I read Cypress in the GitHub workflow. Are you using web scraping to fetch data?
Wow. That's I can't answer that, to be honest. So I'm not the biggest TypeScript coder. No, I can't answer that.
No worries. That's also an answer. Can most already used managed services like Postgres, and how well does it work compared to AWS or Azure with Tofu? I think it's just basically like, can you use it? And does it work
you should
as well?
not using it. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess overall, of course, the service variety is it's much smaller, but I think the most critical services are there and can also be used with Terraform.
Okay. No, you're good. Awesome. I mean, in the end, Matze, if you still have some discussion needs, then just ping both after the talk, right? Isn't the smallest common denominator between clouds almost always Kubernetes? Any experience in moving actual SaaS services from hyperscalers to sovereign?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it is the most common denominator, and I think that's also one of the big developments that we had in the past 8 years when we started with meshcloud. The services across the clouds were still pretty different in terms how they were working. So for now, this has become a lot easier. But still, if we look at organizations, they oftentimes don't have everything running on Kubernetes. So they also choose different clouds for different use cases, and then they also use the native services of the cloud providers. When you do that, you have to think about whether you want to be dependent on that specific service. So yes, the developer platform example shows that Kubernetes is the smallest common denominator, but still we see these different clouds for different use cases being very prominent among the organizations that we work with.
Thank you. Any sovereign alternatives for GitHub you use and can recommend?
So I guess GitLab is very strong and you can run it on your own. So I guess this is the answer. I guess it's much easier to run your own alternative to GitHub than run an IDP by your own identity provider. So I guess you can host it by your own. You also see that people does that. So use GitLab. This is my alternative.
Good. STACKIT Git. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Good to know. Sorry. Wonderful. I think then we're good with the questions. I mean, you're still around, so still, if something pops up in your head, you can just ping them and find them. Oh, there's just one coming. How do you manage DRP with multi-cloud setups?
DRP?
Disaster recovery
Oh, wow.
point.
So
Maybe.
I guess this is also aligned onto application teams also who are running their applications.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we do disaster recovery for our application.
Yes.
We do run in a hyperscaler. Usually, we also run on-premise with some of our customers. But for the application team and the workloads running there, of course, this is
Or
a
the platform
topic
team, yes.
that the
Yes,
application
so.
team has to take care of.
Awesome. And with the wonderful words of Anonymous, great talk, thank you. I will also say great talk. Thank you so much. You did very well, Florian, for your first talk. Again, a warm round of applause. Get loud.
From ContainerDays Hamburg, this video is proudly presented by DAX IT.